Hey guys, just wanted to make a quick video on my Moza R5 force feedback settings. I am running the KS wheel as well, and I have presets built for the GTEs, the LMP2s, and the Hypercar. My in-game settings, I have auto clutch turned on, I have the hold clutch on, the auto start engine, and the auto headlights. These are just quality of life things for me. If we go into the controls under calibrate, I set the steering wheel maximum rotation to 540 degrees. I find that this really helps with the trail braking and turn in and snap oversteer. This aids a lot in the traction and improves the game, in my opinion. If we go to the force feedback, I have this steering torque set to 5 because that's the Moza R5, and the force feedback strength I set to 100, but I have each car's strength dialed down in Pithouse. If you don't like that and you want to reverse that, you totally can. And if this is too high, you could drop this down to like 95 to 90%. If the curb strikes and stuff like that are too overbearing, you can add some feedback smoothing. I put this to 1. Feel free to play with this and just pick what feels comfortable for you. So if we go into the Pithouse, I have the GTE preset, and like I said earlier, the steering angle I have set to 540 degrees. I have the feedback set to 85%, the wheel speed at 90%, the wheel spring strength at 15%, the dampeners at 70%, the torque at 100%, natural inertia is at 300%, the wheel friction is at 25%, speed dependent dampening at 25% at 60 kilometers per hour. If the wheel feels like it's too heavy while turning, you can play with the natural inertia and drop that slider down, and it can lighten up the wheel a little bit. For the effect equalizer, I have it set to 80%, 60%, 40%, 30%, 20%, and 10%. And this is where most of the feeling you're going to feel a difference at. In the force feedback curve, I have this set at 80 and 92%, 60 and 76%, 40 and 52%, 20 and 19%. And if you feel a little oscillation down the straights, you can drop this Y value to 18%, and I found that that usually gets it away, but it feels a little bit lighter in the middle section, just kind of like a dead zone. So I left this at 19, but I'll play around with that every now and then and just go with what feels more comfortable. So if we go to the LMP2, I have this still set at 540 degrees. I have the feedback at 80%, the wheel speed at 100%, the wheel spring strength at 20%, the dampeners at 60%, the torque is still at 100%, natural inertia is at 350, wheel friction at 30%, the speed dampening is at 20% at 50 kilometers per hour, the effects 70%, 50%, 30%, 20%, 10%, and 5%. And the force feedback curve is the same. Then last, the Hypercar, I have this still set at 540 degrees. The intensity is at 90%, the wheel speed is at 90%, the spring strength is at 10%, and the dampeners at 80%. The torque is still at 100%, the natural inertia is at 300%, the wheel friction is at 20%, the speed dependent dampening is at 30% at 70 kilometers per hour. For the effects, 90%, 70%, 50%, 40%, 20%, and 10%. And the curve is the same. So if these settings helped you out, let me know in the comments down below. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe.